Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much South by Southwest for having me for the third time. I feel very grateful and very blessed to be here today. Before we start, give a little bit of introduction of myself. More and foremost, I am Brazilian. Is there any Brazilian here? That's good. So I'm from Brazil, and I'm an immigrant female, and that's the story of a journey of an immigrant coming from Brazil to pursue a dream. So it's a story of resilience, a story of passion, and a story of vision that has helped me to build not just my business, but my personal goals and dreams. How it started, this is me, little Maira, with a clear vision and big dreams. As I said, I am from Brazil, from the countryside, Ribeirão Preto. So I don't know if anyone here knows Ribeirão Preto. Okay, good. So I'm from the countryside, Ribeirão Preto. I came from a very, very humble family that taught me that real love is what matters in life. During my childhood, my parents, my father, which has now passed away, he was an engineer, and my mom used to have 3 different jobs, juggling around to raise her kids and trying to be the best that she could be for me and my sister. As a little girl, I used to look at my surroundings, my friends at school, and used to think about what do I want to be when I grow up? What is my dreams? What is my vision? And since I was a little girl, I knew it that what I wanted for my life was beyond what I was having in Ribeirão Preto. But that childhood and that surrounds has really helped me to understand that where you're from is not what's going to define you where you're going. When I was at Ribeirão, I went to uni to study advertising and marketing. I had my first internship at a university, and as I said, I thought what I wanted for my life was bigger than that. And the first big, bold move that I did in my life was to move from Ribeirão to São Paulo to study at FAAP, advertising and marketing. So in São Paulo, I had an amazing opportunity to go from a countryside to a big city to understand what hard work and passion and what it takes for you to actually conquer that vision and dream that you keep dreaming and keep visioning when I was little. So I got a job as an internship at American Express. I was 19 years old, and for 4 years from the intern, I became a global senior marketer at American Express. And even though I was happy with where I was, and I was proud that I have left my family, my friends, everything behind in Ribeirão, São Paulo and American Express still not feel enough for the vision and the dreams that I had as a little girl. So again, I decided to do another big, bold move in my life when I was 24 years old. So I moved from São Paulo to London because I always had a dream to live abroad. And my sister was living in London, and I thought it could be a good opportunity to go and live in a different country. But did I know what I was expecting when I moved to London? So moving to London was all about embrace discomfort because I could not speak English. I didn't know anything about the culture. The weather, if I have been in London, is not the best weather that you could wish for, especially coming from Brazil. But I knew what I wanted to achieve in my life. I knew what was my dreams, and I decided to embrace that discomfort and move to London. So moving to London, got it there. I didn't know how to speak English. And the only thing I knew at the time how to say was, hi, my name is Maira, and I'm looking for a job. That's all I could say. But what kept me to moving forward and embrace the discomfort and be encouraged to be, face the challenge ahead of me, I've thought, all right, so I'm here now. I left everything behind. All I have to do now is understand what is my next step. As I could not speak English, I had to go and work for a pub. So as you can see, I went from work for an American Express as a global senior marketing manager to work in a pub and serving pints. I didn't even know what pint was. I remember the guy from the pub said, but do you know how to serve a pint? I was like, I don't even know what a pint is. He's like, do you know how to do a cocktail? I was just like, no, I don't even know the names of the cocktails. But I said to him, but I have a passion, I have a vision, I have a dream. Please give me the chance for work in your pub. And then he gave me the chance, and it was about stepping back, because from American Express to go to the pub, I have to step back many steps, but looking ahead, what is my vision, what's my dream, what I'm doing this. It's a very fancy slide. So, all right, in London, I was working at a pub for 2 years, and looking back to my journey, the pub experience was actually one of the best experiences that I had in my life, because I could learn English there. I was serving the same clients every single day. They taught me a lot about the culture of the country, so I have great, memories from that experience. When I moved to London, I wanted to crack it in fashion, in luxury. I didn't want to go back to finance industry. I was working at American Express back in São Paulo. So how did I go from the pub to work at Alexander McQueen after 3 years of living in London? Again, through passion, through hard work, through courage, and be, very transparent when I was going for interviews and saying, I don't have the experience, but I have the passion, and I am a hard worker. And I'm here to prove you that I can make it, I can do a good work. So I started at McQueen as an intern, and at the time McQueen was not very well known yet, so I didn't have an idea that what McQueen would become after 3 years working with him. So from McQueen I went to Sergio Rossi and then Saint Laurent, and that's how my career in fashion and luxury in London started. So after 12 years, then fast forward 12 years working in luxury, working on big global marketing campaigns all around the world, traveling to Milan, Paris, New York, putting together fashion shows, working with the most amazing fashion designers and creators, I start thinking to myself, this is the purpose that when I was a little girl back in Ribeirão Preto wanted to pursue. Is that success is what defines purpose? So I start questioning myself if that was actually the direction, and then why I was doing that, if that's the purpose and the meaning of my life and what I wanted to do was actually the success that I was having at the luxury industry. And then I started thinking, as a young girl, back in times, I've always been very curious, and I'm still today very curious, love understand where the industry of marketing is going, always, asking questions and doing research and studying what is next. My last job in fashion was when everyone was talking about social media and influencer, is when Instagram was actually just a social app that you could share photos with all those different filters. Looking at that and looking back is like what you're talking and say about AI today, right? So everyone is questioning what's going to be the impact of AI in market, how AI is going to change the way we do marketing, and then what's the impact that we have on the creative industry. So 10 years ago, everyone was talking about the same thing, but talking about social media, and influencer was not even a thing. So it was just like, people sharing photos, holding products, and say, I use this perfume, it's amazing. And then I saw an opportunity there, and I thought to myself, I think influencer marketing is going to be the future of marketing. And then I was in a coffee shop closer to where I used to live in London. My son was 3 months old, and at that coffee shop, I had this idea of creating a company that could combine the purpose that I was looking for and the vision that I always had when I was a little girl, and how can I put both together to create a business that was purpose-driven business. So in 2014, the same year that was the birth of my son, Antonio, that was the birth of MG Empower. So MG Empower, for me, since from its inception, was how can I give back all my experience of being an immigrant, of being a female, of being an entrepreneur. So how can I create a business where my experience can help others, and how can my experience empower people, but also empower brands? So that's what I say about building a business that is purpose-driven, and understand that my background was not what was about to define me, but my background was actually my superpower. So MG Empower was created on the basis that as an influencer market agency. So we were, I think, the third or the fourth influencer market agency based in London. So there was no influencer market agency as we have many today. So it was at early stage where I took a lot of risks and the courage of knocking on brands' doors and say, do you want to me help you to understand social media, to help you to create your e-commerce site, to help me to understand what the influencer marketing will be in the next 5 years. At the beginning, I had a lot of pushback of people saying, who is that, lady, Brazilian, trying to build a business outside Brazil and positioning herself as a global influencer market agency. So in the beginning, it was not as easy as anything when you're starting your own business, especially when you're an immigrant. But I was very persistent, and then for me, it was all about looking at the vision, understand why I left behind for the third time a career of success in luxury to start my business, because I knew it, that I wanted to have a purpose, and I needed to make sure that the why I've moved from Brazil to London will be something that I will be proud of and will make, at the time, my son proud too. MG Empower, I never put, it's a funny story, because every time I talk about the story of the business, people ask me, oh, but in the beginning, did you put a business plan together? Did you have, you have the vision, but do you have a business plan? Do you have like what is going to be your revenue growth? What is going to be how many clients you wanted to have in 5 years? So I never had a business plan. And what I had was the vision that I wanted to create a purpose-driven business to empower people, brands, to innovate, to be agile, to be different, to make a difference on brands. And we grew really quick, very, very quickly, from one person in a coffee shop to 5 people to 22 people in 2 years. And how did we actually scale globally so quickly was through innovation and agility. Why I say innovation? Because as an influencer market agency, even the industry of influencer marketing was changing very rapidly. So we started with Instagram with just being a photo sharing app. And then you could have stories, and then different filters, and then videos, and then there was YouTube, and then Snapchat. So the industry was evolving really quickly. And then as a business owner, I had to be observing and be curious about, okay, where this industry is going, and how can I go with this industry together and innovate and try to be agile. So in 2 years, we were like serving global clients like Chopard, Bumble, TikTok, By Terry, Dior, to mention a few. And the most amazing thing is that the fact that I am Brazilian and I was an immigrant, the brands thought that was very appealing, because they felt inspired by a business that was created through a purpose-driven, but also based on diversity, based on inclusion. So we started working with all these big brands, but outside the UK as well. We started doing campaigns in Brazil, in Mexico, in the US, and all over Europe. In 4 years of existence, we were already 25 people, 28 people. And again, as I said, because I never had a business plan, I never had an intention of thinking of selling my business or having investors or private equity or venture capital, and then you name. I started being approached by investors saying that they wanted to acquire MG Power, they wanted to invest, and I was, wow, I never expected that. I've created this business 4 years ago, and to empower people and brands, never had a business plan, but I always had a vision. And I was very confused about that opportunity and all the opportunity that was coming in front of me. And in 2021, I decided to do a big, bold move. And looking back, I don't regret, but I was not yet mature enough to have had that bold step. So I sold MG Power in 2021 for a big US company based in San Francisco. They bought 100% of the business. And my deal with them is that I will continue to be the CEO for 5 years, and then after 5 years, I would have to decide if I wanted to stay or not. Selling the business can give you a lot of excitement, right? And looking back to the whole story and see that in 4 years and a half, you're selling your business to a big, giant corporation in the US that wanted to acquire, to invest, to grow, to add technology into your business. So all the excitement, we have big investment, we start creating our own technology platform. We went to 25 people to 65 people like this. We opened an office in New York. They gave us a massive, beautiful office in London, in central London. So all felt really, really, really exciting. And the team was bubbling because of all the opportunities that now being a part of big company, we give not just to the company, but for the employees that was working there. But coming from a company that was defined by diversity, a company that was defined by its values, a company that was defined by its vision, when you get into an acquisition and you have to integrate with a different business, is a different story. So big companies, they are not interested much. Not all of them. I don't want to make it as a general thing. But the majority of the big players, of course, they want to grow, and they want to grow sometimes at any cost. And then people and culture not really matter. What matters is to grow and grow and grow. That one, we start losing the essence of who we were, although we were having amazing opportunity for expansion and being in so many different markets. There was something that was not really aligned with the purpose of that business, but there was nothing I could do because I've sold 100%. There was nothing I could do or change. I had to embrace, and I have to accept, and I have to adapt. 2 years being part of this big corporate company in US, something unexpected started happening. This US company started going through a very, very difficult financial challenge. And we were working, be part of this group for 2 years and a half, and things started escalating. MG Power was a tiny, tiny, tiny business within their big business. But of course, anything that would happen to them would affect the business. And I had to make tough decisions on understanding, all right, that little girl came from Ribeirão Preto, moved to São Paulo, moved to London, worked in a pub, serving pints, worked as a sales assistant, got an internship, thrive in luxury, work with global brands, start a business in a coffee shop, sold its business, but now all her vision, all her dreams will go like this because they will file for Chapter 11, and there's nothing I could do because I would have to go with them because I was not the owner anymore. I sold. But in another, moment of reflection, I decided I need to save this business, but I don't know how. I'm going to try to approach then and say that I wanted to buy back. And then everyone saying to me, are you crazy? How are we going to buy back? They think they want to sell to you. They don't care about taking you down. I had 65 employees with families and depending on the business. How I could stay there, sitting still and not doing anything. So I approached them and said I wanted to buy back because that is humorous because they were a public company that you're going to go for Chapter 11. And they said, if you wanted to buy, you have 4 weeks to buy your business. And I was like, how am I going to buy a business in 4 weeks if it took me 6 months to sell? But again, I didn't have an option. I have to use my strength, my courage, and keep looking at my vision and keep looking for why I have done all the changes in my life and why I was going through that was, again, a journey that I have to accept, was a journey that I have to go through because I was very sure that something will make me much more stronger and the business much more stronger if I manage to do that. So I bought the business back 2 days before they filed for Chapter 11. So I signed the contract on a Friday. On Monday, they filed Delaware in Chapter 11, and I was the only business within that company that managed to save the business. This is where we are today. This is 8 months after acquiring back the business. We made it happen because we managed to have a partner that believed in us, believed in our culture, and we wouldn't be able to be where we are today a year after everything has happened if it was not for our trust clients, our trust team, and as I said, building a partnership with partners that really believe in your values, in your vision, and I want to be there with you, to grow with you, not to dictate how you should be doing things and how to say you can or cannot do based on the direction that you have envisioned for yourself. So the hardest lessons for me, and that's what I wanted to share with you today, is that culture, vision, and people must remain intact. Whatever decision you make, if you have a business or if you think about having a business, you create it, you envision, you had the dream. So even if you find partners or if you sell, just make sure that the essence of your business will remain there, because if that changes, everything changes. Because the clients that you have, the people that work for you, they are there because of the essence of your company. And when I sold to a big corporation, everything has changed. They change our culture, they change our way of doing things, they change the values that we have. And then we all together with this big company, we start going down and down and down, because when you lose your essence, you lose your business. And your people is your most important asset. So something that I learned is that people over profitability and profitability over growth at any cost. So of course, profitability is very, very important for any business to survive, but put your people first, because your people, that's going to make your business profitable, not the other way around. Diversity, inclusion, and empathy. Coming from Brazil, throughout all my journey in London, I've been in London for 20 years now, something that London, United Kingdom, taught me a lot, and how is a country that has very empathetic for people that are coming abroad. I've had so many opportunities there, as mentioned before, working in so many amazing, incredible luxury fashion house. And I've learned throughout this experience that when you have a business that has a foundation on diversity, inclusion, and empathy, you can not only thrive as a business, but you can have a people that your team can be more creative. It can have, it can be more human, And that's how, again, a big lesson for me, because when I saw that the first time, there was no diversity, there was no empathy, there was no inclusion, and that started killing the creative of the team, started killing, how we are operating and how we're executing our marketing campaigns. So the secret for my lesson to you is that a strong business has to be based on a strong foundation of diversity. And innovation, it's very, very important, and you have to be taking risks and creating new paths as your business evolves, because the industry evolves really, really quickly. As I said, I started as an influencer market agency, but throughout the years, influencer marketing, which starts to be as an add-on on any influencer marketing strategy, became the core of any marketing strategy. So nowadays, if you're a brand here, I'm sure you have influencer marketing as a part of your brand strategy. So we have to evolve, we have to create it, ideas where influencer marketing will not just going to be an add-on, but like a core. And then today we are integrated market agency, because online and offline, they don't work separately. So everything that we do online, you have to apply that to offline through experience, through productions. And we've been evolved. Even when we're going through tough times, even when we're going through challenge, I was keep pushing my team to innovate it. I was keeping my team to think what was happening in the industry, and that curiosity of Maira, the little girl, was still there, even though going through the hard time, because I knew that in order for us to survive, not just to survive for the challenge that we're going through, but in order to survive in an industry that's changing so rapidly, and now with AI, so we have to actually evolve together with the industry. There was a lot of risk-taking, but again, mistakes are learnings. So that doesn't matter. You can try, you can get it right, you can get it wrong, but you're learning, you're not making mistakes. This is another big lesson for me. A lot of people used to say to me, how have you done so many mistakes? Why you have done this? Why you created that? It's like there is no mistakes. It's all about learnings, right? If you want to evolve and if you want to maintain yourself in a position in the marketing of being an innovator, you have to take risks. Another big lesson for me, that belief in what you can see is actually your vision driver. I'm a truly believer that even when you cannot see, but if you have the vision, if you know your why, and if you know where you're doing things will happen. So faith for me is a huge, huge, huge invisible force. And if I'm here today at the stage of South by Southwest, it's because I've had vision one day to be here. I didn't know what I would be speaking about, so funny enough, I'm speaking about my journey, about my business, but that was the phase that brought me here to this stage. So I never thought that I would be able to actually be telling my story into a conference of the size of South by Southwest. I never thought that the little girl from Ribeirão Preto one day will create and develop a global market agency. And I never thought that all the challenge, all the setbacks, all the mistakes, all the cries, and all people saying to me, you cannot do it this, you're not capable of doing that. You are women. Oh my God, how many times I heard that. You are an immigrant and you are a woman. How are you going to succeed? How are you going to make it happen? So I never let anyone to stop me, and I would never let anyone to stop me. And that's my advice to you, is just like work through your vision and trying to believe in things, even if you cannot see. Because if you know where you're going, no one can stop you, and your faith can give you the strength, your faith can give you the courage, your faith can be your superpower. And this is a big, this is a small summary of, things that I would leave to you as a takeaway. Your ego can be your enemy, right? So how many times we have put our ego in front of us? So how many times we want it because our ego is saying to us that this is the right thing to do. But your ego, it's your enemy. Don't be afraid of starting. Don't be afraid of starting over. Don't be afraid of starting over again. Don't be afraid of anything. And never let your ego be in front of you, because it can be a killer. Growth lies outside comfort zone, right? Sometimes all we have to do is accept the journey, is accept the process. There's nothing we can do. So sometimes growth needs to come at hardcore, but that's the journey that we have been put in front of us, and we need to accept the process. We really need to embrace the unknown. And it's in the end of the day, it's beautiful to embrace the unknown, because when you're embracing the unknown, but know where you want to go through your face, things can sometimes, as more difficult that it can see, it can be exciting at the same time. Vision over circumstance, as I said, if you don't have a vision, you cannot find your purpose, right? I truly believe that vision and purpose, they need to walk alongside. And if you don't have a vision, how can you find your purpose? So from the early age, from the early beginning, I knew what was my vision, and I never, ever let anyone to take that away from me. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I wanted to achieve. And then I kept, remember the why all the time, why I'm doing this, why I'm putting myself to this challenge, why I'm creating this business, why. But then my response was always the vision and the big dreams that I had when I was younger. Sustainable business, that was a hardcore lesson for me, right? Because when I saw it, everything is so exciting when you go to a big corporation because they give you the word. And then you think that, oh my God, so now we're going to be the WPP of the industry. And then the big agencies, because you've been giving all the, the assets and the support that they needed. But in return, you have to grow at any cost. And to grow at any cost, you can never have a sustainable business. And this is what I've learned. And at the end of the day, I'm so glad and I'm so grateful that I've been through that. Because maybe if I haven't been through that, I probably wouldn't have that understanding that I have now. Hard decisions, as I said, is part of, a leadership. Sometimes we really need to take our heart away and our emotions and make hard decisions. And sometimes hard decisions can affect other people's life, making layoffs, letting people go. And the beginning of when I start the agency, I have hired a lot of friends because at the time I didn't have, the resources to hire, high professional in the industry. And what you do, you go around your friends and say, I'm building a business, do you want to join? And so mixed friendship with business is not always a great idea. And I have to make hard decisions that involve great friends that end up not being friends anymore. But then sometimes it's hard decisions. It's not about you, it's about your business and the people that stayed. And as I said about my faith, believe before you see it. From a little girl, again and again, I love to say that, because where I am today is not because I had that vision and dream 2 years ago. I knew from I was a very little girl that what I wanted to be was above and beyond the surrounds that I was in Brazil. I didn't know how I would have become the person I became today. But I knew that with my faith and believing on something that sometimes sounds to many people completely unrealistic, for me, it never was the case. Diverse creates better business, as I said. When you have diverse inclusion in your business, everything, when I say diverse and inclusion, is about race, is about language, is about culture, is about colors. How amazing to arrive in a place that you can see so many people with different backgrounds and all working together, learning from each other. So this makes your business much more valuable, not just for the people that are working there, but for your clients. So it can be better for your clients, it can be better for your people, it can be better for the future, it can be better for the world. And I think the world is needed today of more diverse, right? So we needed to accept that inclusion, it's not an option, it should be mandatory. And evolve with and before the industry. This is super important. So you cannot evolve, wait to see where the industry will go to evolve. So you need to evolve all the time, be curious all the time. What's happening, where the industry that you're working on, where it is going. So how can I innovate? How can I be agile? How can I bring something to my clients that other agencies are not doing? So innovated and doing it, taking risk, learning, making mistakes, but evolve all the time. Never stand still. So this is the 8 big lessons that I have had through my journey. And that's my lessons, but what I want to say to you is that there is no playbook. There is no playbook in life, right? And then there is no playbook in business, in marketing. So your story, your background is your superpower, right? So that's what's your playbook. I'm sharing my story. Hopefully that can be an inspiration of never accept no as a no. Never doubt of yourself. And even if you wanted to crack on in a big industry like the one we are, which is marketing, creative, advertising, with so many players, and then sometimes we question ourselves, is there a space for another agency? Is there a space for another business? There's always a space, there's always an opportunity, and you just need to go for it. And you need to, believe in your own self and getting that courage and strength to develop what your dreams defined you. And I hope you have learned from and inspired by my journey. And my question to you all is what is your next leap? Do you have a dream? Do you have a vision? Do you know where you're going? And if you know you're going, what are the steps that you're taking to get there? Thank you so much.